We even went down to the nitty gritty of finances 101. Ultimately, artists, it's a business. And so you need to know about taxes, you need to know about, waivers, etc., that you need that are crucial, especially when a presenter books you internationally or perhaps within Canada. It's like, what do I do with that money? How do I do, the HST thing? How do I apply for a tax waiver if I'm coming internationally to Canada? Like, what happens with that? So, there's a lot of like little fine details. It's not just about, I'm a presenter, I go check out this band, I see them, they're great, and I book them, and it's done.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Innersleeve, the podcast taking a behind-the-scenes look at all things music. I'm Cassius Morris, my co-host Joe Pacheco joining me on the line. What's happening, my man?
Man, I just can't believe we're mid-June.
Isn't it crazy? The time is going by quick right now.
Blink of an eye, man. It felt like it was winter not too long ago, but I mean, it felt like just turned. Hey, celebrate 2022. Next thing we know, we're already halfway through this year already. It's nuts.
And it'll be cold again soon.
Well, what they say, right? They always say, time flies when you're having a blast. So that's what it is.
That's a fact. We've been super busy here at SoundMojo and Innersleeve. Today's guest on the podcast is Mercedes, a representative of the Global Toronto 2022 Music Conference. She's a phenomenal guest on today's episode of the show, telling us all about the conference, the different opportunities, not only for artist representation for indie artists, but cultural representation from all different parts of the world. This is a really, really impressive conference, and you guys are not going to want to miss this. And I highly encourage indie artists to go check them out on the web. The info is in the description below, and definitely make sure to sign up for these conferences all across the web as they are online this year, Joe.
Yeah, and don't forget, they're online. That's what I wanted to mention. They're online because we missed the, earlier in June, there was the actual physical with some performances and stuff locally in Toronto. But next week, June 20 to the 22nd is all online and it's free. You just got to register. And, they'll be closing the gap, accessibility, remuneration, taking action on studies that people can build on. There's a lot of stuff. You'll see it as Mercedes explains it best. It's like they call it a little festival, but it's huge what it covers.
Yeah, it's big for a little festival. I'd be scared for a big festival if this is small. And they definitely have tons of opportunities. So yeah, big shout out to Global Music Toronto for the awesome conference and awesome chat. Hopping over to the SoundMojo Community Tab on YouTube, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out, you definitely should. Of course, if you're watching on video, you should be subscribed already, but our audio listeners as well. We're very, very active on our YouTube, and we put up polls and posts almost every single day to get you guys' feedback on all things music. Now, this first poll was interesting. This one we asked, do you watch music documentaries or biopics? And by the way, we do have a bunch of comments. YouTube has a glitch right now where we can't open the comments, as you guys can see.
They show them, but they don't display the comments. So we're in touch with them because it seems to be happening on a lot of channels, a lot of videos.
It is, but it looks like 81%, Joe, are very much into the music docs and biopics, which, I mean, not surprising to me on a music channel.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, and like myself too. Like I've said many times before, I will even watch artists I'm generally not into because like I just love seeing the story behind the artist, or even just like how they work, learn, like with Kanye, right? We covered the Kanye thing. I'm not a huge Kanye guy. I don't run to buy the album or listen to the album, but I mean, I am a fan to an extent, but like I enjoyed watching that 3-part documentary. Just really, especially the first part was my favorite part, and it's like it was just such a fun way to just see this guy just hustle and stuff, so this is why we love this kind of stuff. I mean, I just devour this kind of stuff up.
It's magical, I think the documentary format really is good for that, even in different genres. I've been trying to expand. I put on the Anthony Bourdain doc. I'd never watched his show, but I loved it, you know what I mean? So I think it's definitely a good way to discover new stuff and even new songs within the documentaries musically.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Anthony Bourdain, I used to watch the show a lot, liked him a lot, but I didn't check out the movie yet.
Highly recommend that one too to everybody out there as well.
Yeah.
We have more Comms Tab polls that we put up. Now, some of these actually cracked me up a little bit. Not this one. This one was interesting. We said, who is the best rapper right now? And you want to break it down, Joe?
It's just too bad the comments aren't working.
That's it. 10 people gave us feedback.
Come on. Anyway, so this is pretty interesting. I'm, to be honest, not surprised. So we have Kendrick. Well, we put up, who's the best rapper right now. So J. Cole, Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and any others. Just let us know in the comments, which we can't see. But Kendrick Lamar winning by 52%. You say you're surprised?
I'm surprised, and not necessarily because he doesn't deserve it. I think, he's one of the best rappers of all time. That being said, I thought Kanye with his run the last couple of years would be way at the top. He's doing all these festivals coming up. He's, and even Drake, he usually wins just about every competition when you think about it. So this is cool, though, to see that our listeners are into that real hip hop.
Nicely said, man. Yeah. It's only at the end of the day, it's 102 votes. So it's not like it's like 5,000 or 100,000 votes, but I'm not surprised because every time I hear the name Kendrick mentioned, it's always with like reverence or amazing, brilliant, genius, especially when we even covered his last video where he did the deep fakes and stuff. So that was very interesting. But yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. But it's true when you think about the competition he's in here. Kanye, I'm surprised that it ranked almost the lowest. J. Cole getting 6%.
That and the fact that Kendrick's new album out of all these guys was the poorest reviewed album of all of them too. So that's what was interesting to me. But that being said, I think his music is more for taking through the years. It's not for instant consumption. So I think it'll age like wine.
Exactly. So it's a little more timeless, you'd say?
I think so. I think it's meant to be consumed over years. And I don't think an album like Certified Lover Boy, that's sort of just like junk food music. It's not bad, but it's not made to last 20 years. So which is interesting too. It's just something I wonder about pop music. So we put up this poll. Who's the best pop artist right now? And Joe, I think I saw this one coming. I think this one makes sense to me.
Yeah, so we had 108 votes. Thank you for participating. And we had Billie Eilish with 22, Dua Lipa with doubling that with 41, almost doubling it, Doja Cat with 8, and Bad Bunny with 8%. So Dua Lipa clearly in the lead on this one. Everything I've heard of Dua Lipa, I've enjoyed. I've liked it. It's not something I'm gonna, like I said, I've never actually gone to Spotify and hit Dua Lipa and let me listen to a song. But I've, from friends and stuff, I've always heard good stuff. Billie Eilish, I'm more inclined to personally go check out and really get into because I love the production. I love the ideas behind a lot of that stuff. I'm not surprised too that Dua Lipa, especially with that every freaking song is massive that she's put out, but the one with Elton John there, the Rocket Man cover that's been going around the last couple of months, that was a nice one. Like when I first heard that, I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's such a cool take on the song,
No, 100%. Also, Dua Lipa getting a big boost from the new Jack Harlow song entitled Dua Lipa, where he basically professes his love for her. So, interesting. And I think it makes sense.
Is that a new way to, a pickup line or something? Just write a song,
think so.
A massive #1 single, and to get your girl,
The funniest part is no reaction from Dua Lipa whatsoever to the song. Just literally, I'm like, this dude went all the way.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right? Amen. We had one more to wrap it up. Speaking of Jack Harlow. Yes, so speak of the devil, Jack Harlow. We asked you guys if he is overhyped as a rapper because this has been the biggest debate in hip-hop as of late. And 78% of you feel he is overhyped. That's a pretty big percentage.
Yeah, that's definitely high. 73 votes though, but yeah, 78%. I think he's overhyped. To be honest, not very familiar with him. Is it like a recent dude?
He's pretty recent. I would say he just popped off in the end of 2019. So he's very new. He just dropped, his new album. He had singles, I think, with Lil Wayne. He had Drake on the album. But the one thing he's being criticized for is people think he has a lethargic sort of monotone voice. And I think that's one of the biggest things. If he wants to get more respect, I think he has to bring more life to his raps because that is often the criticism. But, I'm so happy for the guy.
I have no opinion on this, but it's like when I hear people say that, it's like when people used to say like some guitar players, all you're doing is shredding, or all you do is blues, or you can't do this. But if that's how his style is vibe, you're either into it or you're not, right? I would never think of telling an artist, you're too monotone or you're too this, it's like, that's just how they are, that's just how he does his music, Anyways.
Can't really take someone's voice from them, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can't make them speak unless then you get into the world of acting, right?
100%. Anyway. How about the next one?
who is the lead singer of Evanescence, right? So we had Jen Majura, we had Lizzie Hale, Ben Moody. That's funny.
Yeah.
Amy Lee, right? So, 92% we all know it's Amy Lee. So once again, thank you for participating, and like keep looking, because we're always going to put like one, sometimes two a day. You never know. Whenever stuff pops up and we see, like, oh, let's community tab that stuff and get the vibe from the audience. If there's any, if anyone wants to, like, just message us, leave a comment, even though the comments aren't working today, but like leave a comment and let us know, like, ideas, polls, songs, artists you'd like to see on the show. But we want to give you what you guys want. We want to cover the stuff you actually want to hear and listen to, so.
Some turbulent news coming from the world of K-pop today. The beloved group BTS have announced a hiatus for an indefinite period of time after opening up about their struggles, quote, saying they've lost their direction. Now, this is sort of a odd story, Joe, when you really think about it. A group at the top of their success, the height of it, wanting to step away.
When I first saw this, it came as a surprise. I was like, wow, I didn't expect this. But as soon as I read it, I was realizing, well, it's, I don't know how many albums in they are, right, and stuff. So it's like, these guys have been at it for at least 5-6 years or more. So it's like, they're aging, they're maturing. So like, one of the biggest complaints they were saying is that, like, it's the lyrics. They don't know what to write about anymore. They don't know what to, they want to be honest with the lyrics that they're singing and rapping, I guess. And so, like, they're finding it hard. But I honestly, like, for me, I look at this and I see, like, okay, they've made enough money. They've built this brand, like, globally, that it's going to stay pinned there for, like, at least the next 5 to 10 years for sure, even if they don't do anything, which we know they will do stuff. And now you have 7 potential solo careers that you could monetize.
Look at One Direction. It's the Korean One Direction. I was just going to say that, right? So, like, at this point, who in One Direction has, like, I guess the best thing? Harry Styles, right? Harry Styles, and yeah, I mean, they're all doing quite well, to be honest.
Okay, so there you go. So, like, I'm hoping for them, they all do quite well, but I mean, it's 7, it's like, but anyways, I guess at this point, it's a machine, right? They know how to make these things work, but like, they have chance to make seven, solo careers, and then nothing is stopping them for 5 years down the road. Boom. New album, BTS, new reunion, new merch, new this, new videos. It's like, and the machine starts again. So it's like, I just see it as like, personally, I just see it as like another next move to, monetize these guys. You?
I totally agree. I think it's the classic formula for any boy band, any pop group, really. You even look at like the Pussycat Dolls. I mean, any of these groups, they always end up doing this, and this is a pretty standard formula. The other thing that, makes sense is that they express their issues with the quote-unquote South Korean idol system. And for anyone who's not familiar with this, basically what they'll do for people when they want to make a star is they'll take them from, I think, as early as the age of 6 or 7, and you're basically put in an academy for being a pop star. They basically make you a star. And this is something that's really not done in other parts of the world. I mean, people sign up for, acting classes, but this is intensive stuff. And basically they control every aspect of your life, including your relationships, your personal life. It's crazy. So, I mean, to be involved in something like that, I mean, I can understand how you might want to have your life back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, like, I'm just myself, like, I wasn't in that level, but I mean, like, my father played in a marching band. So it's like, he introduced me to that. And as a, young kid, I was 7, 8, 9 years old. I couldn't stand it. I was just like,
right.
I want to play with my friends. I don't want to be here all day rehearsing with a marching band or whatever. But, all fast forward, like that exposure to that kind of classical or like marching kind of music or ethnic kind of music, really ingrained itself in terms of harmonization in my head. So it served me later to do all my Iron Maiden and all my guitar stuff, But no, but this is like, I didn't know about that, what you said, but they do mention it here where they're saying like the whole idol system. This is what you were talking about. It doesn't give artists time to mature, right? There's no time left for growth. It's just relentless pressure to make music all the time. You're touring, music, touring. So right now we've lost our direction, and just want to take some time to think, which to me is like, they're gonna make solo careers.
Wow, unbelievable. But listen, we wish them the best, and what they've done is remarkable. I mean, to outstream everybody in the world, what can we say? Yeah,
not only that, but to take. I honestly think that Korean culture and even like the language and made it mainstream, like almost, it seems like overnight. You know what I mean? Like we've gotten used to the Latin stuff over the last 30, 40, 50 years, but I mean, this to me came like out of nowhere. And then you have kids that are singing in Korean because they love the artist so much. So like, it's definitely, these are one of the guys, like this whole Korean thing. And now we notice with movies as well, right? Like with, what was that? Like the big, that big series there that everybody was going crazy for.
Squid Games. That's
it, So it's like, well, it's like we're being taken over by Korean sort of culture, which is interesting, It's nothing like horrible or bad. I'm not afraid of it, but it's just like, I find it just came out of nowhere. It's so fast.
Yeah, Blackpink are on the cover of Rolling Stone as we speak. So, I mean, it's definitely insane, and it's a takeover for sure. The Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, has just undergone a major, potentially life-altering surgery. Now, this comes after a couple years of turbulent health problems for Ozzy. He had a serious fall. He damaged his neck and his spine. He has a rare form of Parkinson's, which he's been afflicted with as well. And overall, just seriously struggling, but it looks like he's gone into his surgery, and this is pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like from what I heard initially, the reason why he's having the surgery is from an all-terrain vehicle, like a accident back in the early 2000s. But here they mentioned something about like he tripped in his home back in 2019.
Yes, so that's the thing.
He probably aggravated what was already kind of.
He aggravated what was there, plus the Parkinson's. And I mean, let's be honest. If Ozzy didn't have any of this, he'd probably still be in pretty poor health, just due to his lifestyle. So I can only imagine how that compounds on top of this.
Yeah, 100%. Well, anyways, we don't know. We've been searching up till right this taping if there's any news or any outcome to Ozzy. Because I mean, like when you read a headline that says life altering. What does that mean, right? Does it mean he won't be able to tour anymore, walk, talk? We don't know, like, because as soon as you hear neck stuff, man, and the spine, like, it's very touchy, right?
It's serious. And I mean, the original accident pretty much almost took his life. I'm pretty sure it was documented on the Osbournes. And yeah, very, very serious stuff. But listen, this guy, I don't think he has 9 lives, Joe. I think he has 10.
Yeah, easily. Easily.
It's unbelievable, and definitely one of the biggest legends of all time when it comes to music, and I got big love for Ozzy. I know you do. So we wish him all the best, and hopefully whatever it is, I know he has a new album coming out, whatever he decides to do, I hope it makes him happy. Rap superstar Gunna has spoken out from behind bars for the first official time since his arrest. Now, if you missed the original story back in May, Young Thug, Gunna, and most of the YSL record label were arrested on racketeering charges, and it looks like they're not getting out anytime soon. Now, this is rather unfortunate because these are young guys who are talented, but at the same time, you do the crime, you do the time. Gunna has put out a statement. Portions of this statement read, "Growing up where I come from, a marginalized neighborhood, I never dreamt my art could change my life and the lives of my loved ones. I use my art form, my gift from God, to change my circumstances. I worked, I lived in the studio, I lived on the road. I worked every day to show how grateful I am for my gift." And he continues to talk about the charges, saying, "For now, I don't have my freedom, but I am innocent. I'm being falsely accused and will never stop fighting to clear my name." Now, I don't know about this, Joe, because to be honest, how many false accusations of people of this caliber really end up going through?
I don't know. I'm definitely no expert on that.
I mean, it's just, I feel like if it was a false accusation, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. All I'm saying is he's not going to put out a statement saying I did it. So I'm not sure how much we can believe this.
I know. I don't know either, man, but it's like, it's tough, because like we just really don't know, and I mean, like you said, it's not only him, it's like how many other of the YSL?
I think there's at least 7 guys who are locked up right now, and I mean the circumstances they're being kept in are far different from the typical celebrities, and this is the part that I take issue with, Joe. When it comes to OJ Simpson, when it comes to Bill Cosby, when it comes to any celebrity basically outside of the rap world, it seems like they're sort of taken care of as an important person. They're kept out of general population, and they're even maybe given a TV, a nice bed, whatever. These guys are sitting in basically what's worse than a general holding cell for a regular civilian. It makes me wonder if they're trying to make an example out of these guys.
Yeah, but I mean, right away you said regular civilian. Well, they are a regular civilian. The fact that like they're getting all this coverage is what makes them irregular because they have some status. Like you said, Bill Cosby, OJ, all that stuff. So I honestly don't think they should get any special treatment more than anyone else. However, like, they're human at the end of the day. So I get it. Like, I wouldn't want to be in like a, crappy room with whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. Thank God, knock on wood, never been in jail. I don't have that experience, right? But I mean, like, what sucks is that like we're in what, like I said, mid-June, and if he's got to wait till January 9th, 2023 to finally be, to start the trial, I mean, you got to wait, what, 6 months, 7 months?
Yeah, to start.
Just waiting. Yeah, to start.
That's the thing.
That's what's messed up. So, like, I don't know, maybe they think these guys are going to flee or like flight risks,
They definitely do. Yeah, that was the biggest issue, which makes sense. I mean, look, these guys are filthy rich, you know?
That's it. So, it's like you said, you do the crime until, you're proven guilty there. You got to do the time, I guess. But, like, that's the whole point. They're not guilty yet,
So now we're going to jump into our interview portion of the show today with Mercedes, the official representative of Global Toronto 2022 Music Conference. Again, to sign up for any of these online activities, you still have a little bit of time as of when the show is published. Check out our description below for all the information on the conference. And we're going to jump into our chat with Mercedes.
So go ahead, express yourself. So make them keep you down. Stand up for change. I'll fight for your right to be mentally, spiritually free. You're a rebel, the greatest.
So Mercedes, thank you so much for joining us here on Innersleeve. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
100%. So, I mean, it must be a pretty exciting and busy time ramping up to Global Toronto 2022, the conference. I mean, maybe give us a little bit of insight in sort of the day-to-day leading up to the big events.
Well, right now on the third floor of this building, I have a team of about 15 people assembling swag bags for our delegates that are coming and going through the final details of delegates, ensuring that they're going to fly in on time, dealing with visa issues for international delegates as well, going through production of all the tech riders, of technical crews, where everyone's going to be, transport, because at Global Toronto for the in-person pre-conference activities, what we're doing is that we have 22 showcasing bands from Toronto, Montreal, kind of across Canada, coming, and delegates from all over the world, across the city, across Canada, coming to check them out at 10 different venues. So the logistics is pretty insane, considering how boutique of an in-person activity it is, because it's not a huge conference, but the production aspect is massive. And we took on this project just to showcase our city and showcase the diversity in terms of partners, venue partners, just what the streets and neighborhoods look like, who lives in this city, the musicians that are here, the people that animate the city with their events, with their productions, etc. So we wanted to showcase as much as possible and make it as big as possible, simply because at Global Toronto, like, we believe in moving the music sector forward and including as many people as possible, from emerging grassroots organizations, startup artists, to very well-established PACs, because that's really what the ecosystem's all about.
So how many years have you actually been involved yourself in this entire effort? I'm curious.
So officially as a full-time person, about 1.5 years. But I was involved back in 2020. I was invited to be part of the jury that selected the artists that were showcasing in 2020. And then I just did some contract work with them, helped them out. I closed out their event in 2020 as well as the rapporteur. So I attended all of the virtual events and I gave notes on all the panel discussions, breakout sessions, just seeing what people were feeling at the time, because of course Global Toronto went online in 2020 just like everybody else. And what happened was that instead of it being just a typical networking showcasing type of conference, it was very much a platform for people to talk about the inequities that were happening within the music industry that existed pre-pandemic, but that really truly bubbled to the surface during the pandemic, and the frustrations that were felt across presenters, venues, agents, artists, especially, what their roles were before, during, and after. And so we were somewhat sub-labeled as an activist conference and as dreamers, essentially, of trying to see a better future for the industry, to make it as equitable, as sustainable, as accessible as possible. And, accessibility in all of the terms, in terms of economic accessibility, in terms of physical, mental accessibility, sustainability, not only in terms of talking about climate and what's going on in the planet, but also, what's, how are artists sustaining themselves, how are organizations sustaining themselves, and, how are they doing that? So it was just so enticing to me personally to continue to work in that. I work in the music industry as well. I'm also a festival presenter. Nice. And so just Small World Music and Sunfest, which is my other organization, we are always partner organizations working together across London and Toronto, Ontario. And eventually they said, come on board. So I happily did.
Why not,
right? Why not? So of course we were hoping to do it in person again last year, couldn't do it. So went virtual, continued, made our platform a little bit more fancy, invited over 1,100 participants to join us online from across 70 different countries. And now we're doing the same, except we're inviting, a handful of people across the city or across the country, across the world to come and join us for some of these pre-conference activities. But also we're cognizant of the audience that we built online. And so we want to make sure we're not alienating them. So we're also going to have our main conference June 20 to 22nd.
Wow. I mean, it's so exciting. So, I mean, in terms of like the logistics and stuff, because you mentioned visas, and has it been a big difference compared to sort of previous efforts, do you think, for the group, or I mean, is it sort of similar?
Yeah, so luckily, because we're dealing with national artists, we didn't have to deal with any visas there. That being said, mostly actually, I should clarify, we're actually showcasing 24 artists. 20 of them are national, and 4 of them international. So 2 of them are able to come, and 2 unfortunately are not. One just simply because of logistics, but the other because of visas. They were not able to obtain their visa. But then also delegates have trouble. They have to come if they're coming from different countries. Some of them need visas to come and visit, and unfortunately some of them did not come through. So, and that's a problem because of COVID, because of what's happening. There's a huge backlog in our systems in Canada, and that's a reality that a lot of presenters are facing right now, not only to have visitors but to have bands as well. And for example, with my festival, we have 22 international artists coming through. 6 of them we're still not sure, and we're crossing our fingers and toes to make sure that they can make it. And we're not the only ones in this situation. So luckily, we've had luck in the past where we get it the night before or something like that, and we're hoping that we can still cross our fingers for that. But who knows? With COVID, everything happening, a lot of our systems are backlogged, and a lot of our approvals and our bureaucratic systems, let's put it that way, are backlogged, unfortunately. But that's a reality of everyone.
I was curious about the submission process. How many submit versus how many actually get accepted?
So over the years, we have between 200 and 250 artists that submit. What we do with Global Toronto is that we kind of scan through them really quickly just to see, those who might have just applied but aren't, quite ready to go. And then we dwindle them down to about 175 or so. It's really not that many that nonchalantly apply. And then we don't have an artistic director or a programming director at Global Toronto. And that's on purpose. We want to make sure that we have as many voices at the table. So we do a juried process. And so this year we have 5 jury members that joined us at the end of last year, at beginning of this year, to go through those applications. And those members were people, local Torontonians that were represented venues, that represented sync publishing agencies, media, as well as international artists and artistic directors, just to have different perspectives as well, because sometimes we can have some bias within Canada. And so they listened and they combed through all of those and scored them on different aspects, such as, marketability, if they're export ready, let's put it that way, as if are they ready to go outside? If people coming from other countries are checking them out, can they book them? Are they ready for that yet? And then also in terms of artistic quality, of course, first and foremost, and equity as well, to make sure that we have representation across the sector. But ultimately, we wanted to, they made those decisions, they did those scoring process, but we guided guided them in terms of like, well, is this the platform for them, or do they have many other opportunities to showcase themselves? Because some of them really do. They could have been pop rock oriented, so they can go to bigger conferences such as CMW, or they could maybe tour across the country at many different types of venues. But let's be real, a lot of the artists that we are presenting and that are showcasing at Global Toronto, they aren't as easily bookable, let's put it that way, just because they are representing underrepresented genres, or different cultures that aren't necessarily, that not all presenters take a chance on them, even though their artistic quality is amazing.
Right. It's not necessarily mainstream, even though it, should be, right?
Absolutely. Music is music.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, I mean, what in terms of the scoring, what categories really were the overriding categories that pushed artists over the edge, and what exactly is the jury looking for when they're scoring these artists?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if they're representing, a different group that is equity deserving, women, Indigenous, people of color, Black artists as well. And in terms of, do they have something that when they go to different festivals, to different conferences, do they have a pitch ready for them? So that could be a good music video, not in terms of like a produced music video, but a live video where they're presenting in front of an audience that has good sound, good sound that people can actually say, okay, I understand what you're on stage. All right, I'll book you, as opposed to a cell phone or something like that. And do they have a team behind them? Are they organized enough in order to really and have that experience to go abroad, because perhaps they've toured across the province or toured across the country, or perhaps in the US a little bit, do they have that experience as well? But again, first and foremost is the artistic quality that has to be there, and so that's why we have different ears, different experiences for people to check out the band. And then of course, again, there's that factor of, is this a platform for them? Is this somewhere where we're elevating them, because they haven't had that chance to do that beforehand? So the beautiful thing is with the roster of artists that we have is that there are really truly emerging artists that have had the experience of touring before, but they haven't necessarily with their solo project, to people who have been able to tour previously, but perhaps they haven't opened up to new markets yet, or perhaps not even to our country, because I think that happens a lot of the times with Canadian artists, is that they have to go abroad to become famous, and then they come back, and then they get that, that exposure. Back. Exactly. Yeah. That's the problem. We export a lot of great talent.
Yeah. Thank you, Drake and Justin Bieber. We appreciate you guys for coming back. I mean, what was the farthest country from Canada that you've had someone submit from?
So we had from Malaysia that came in, and that they were supposed to come. Unfortunately, their visas did not come in time, but they're going to be showcasing online. We also have bands in Chile and Paraguay that are coming, that will be presential. A band from Taiwan that unfortunately is going to be doing as well virtually. But we had from Spain, we had from Italy, different countries as well. But we also partner with organizations in those respective countries, because we say, if they're selected, can you support them to come? Because essentially we want to make sure that they're also backed up by their country and by their organizations in order to be paid, and also for their flights to have some coverage as well, that we can partner with them in order to bring them to Canada. So it is a collective effort in terms of in all the different aspects that we do for Global Toronto. So again, that juried system from our programs, our panel discussions, we have a committee that does this. We partner with different venues across the city. We make sure that they're acknowledged as our partners to do that. And not just for Global Toronto, but with Small World Music, we do so many concerts throughout the year. So it definitely is one of those things that we try to make it a very collective approach and a collaborative approach, because we want to make sure that we're not the only ones doing this, that there is a team and support system behind all these artists as well.
Wow. Right. You guys, and you say you're the small conference?
The Small World Music.
Covering a lot of ground here.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I think last year, just in terms of virtually people who contributed, donated, sponsored, who, helped us with outreach, with networking, we had over 80 different partners from around the world. Wow. And that, again, that could be from the smallest, hey, connecting us to somebody, to big, like sponsorship, to creating a network within a region in Africa to creating a network within a region in South America. Like those are different ways in which people can get involved with us, and we encourage it, and we try our best, because at Small World Music we don't just do Global Toronto. We do an artist development program. We do concert programming throughout the year. We have our Small World Music Festival that we present local and national and international artists. So we do a lot of different projects that are audience facing, industry facing, and artist facing, essentially.
What are some of the things artists and just people who are curious to attend the conference? What type of panels should they expect?
So for the in-person pre-conference activities, we tried to separate it out a little bit in terms of what the activities would be. So for our in-person, we're really focusing on those organic ways that people really truly connect. And so that would be, cocktail hours, networking activities, pitch sessions, B2B, that kind of thing. And then first and foremost at the heart are the showcases. Artists always deserve an audience, and their performances are different with an audience in front of them. The energy exchange is super valuable and necessary for the artists to be on stage and give their best performance. And so we wanted to be sure that we could have, if not all of them, then the max amount of possible. Again, we have 24, but only 22 are showcasing in person. So we wanted to really put the emphasis on those activities there. So any artist that would come to the pre-conference activities, they get to enjoy and support their fellow artists, but they also get to meet presenters, agents, publishers, different media that are coming, and get to meet them in person. And then hear from these presenters about their projects, their festivals, and think, maybe this is a festival for me that I'd like to explore, that's in Poland, that it's in South Korea, that's in Paraguay. And then maybe I can build a tour if I can have that anchor date, that kind of thing. And then also they can present themselves to them, and then perhaps maybe build a team, find a manager, find an agent, that kind of thing. And then online, they can still do this virtually, of course, because everyone will have their profile online. So they can continue with this. They can watch the spotlight artists as well. And then, of course, they can tune in to our panel discussions. So we have panel discussions that address different issues across the industry. So, issues such as how music journalism is completely different now, how, climate is affecting touring, how, essentially how people come together when it comes to programming their festivals. There's this Closing the Gap study that happened. And so therefore, we're going to be going a little bit more delving deep into that, how to make money and how to be more sustainable in your career, especially when working with sync agents, how to get published and discovered that way. So there's different workshops as well. We even went down to the nitty gritty of Finances 101. Ultimately, artists, it's a business. And so you need to know about taxes, you need to know about, waivers, et cetera, that you need that are crucial, especially when a presenter books you internationally or perhaps within Canada. It's like, what do I do with that money? How do I do, the HST thing? How do I apply for a tax waiver if I'm coming internationally to Canada? Like, what happens with that? So, there's a lot of like little fine details. It's not just about, I'm a presenter, I go check out this band, I see them, they're great, and I book them, and it's done. There's so many from like A to Z components that are involved between when you see them on stage and when you book them and they perform on stage. So there's so many different steps that are involved. So we try to address as many as possible. Obviously, we can't address everything. And we build it, of course, based on what previous discussions were held. And so, as I mentioned before, we were online and we addressed many of these issues that were very sensitive. A lot of these issues were very, very sensitive. And so we had breakout sessions during that time as well. And people who watched the panel were able to express their own thoughts and feelings and lived experiences. And so we thought, well, maybe it would be best to keep those online just because there's a safety issue there. And we want to make sure that people feel safe to express themselves and then not have to face a whole room full of people afterwards, because sometimes there's a little there's a vulnerability that exists there. So we want to make sure that people feel comfortable to do that, but also, again, have as many different voices at the table. And because not everybody can fly to Canada right now, we can still hear from people from Burundi, from Mozambique, from Japan, that would have completely different lived experiences. And perhaps these conversations aren't even there yet. And they will then learn from our conversations as well.
What have you noticed, like, having done all these conferences, what's like the one thing or the most where artists need the most help with?
Ooh. I don't know about help per se, and I'm not sure if I'm the correct person to say that, but I would say encouragement to support other artists and other projects as well. Because I find that, a lot of the time, even when I, book my own festival, for example, I invite a band to come for 2 days, and then they'll come, they'll play, and they'll go back to their hotel room or they'll go to a bar, and that's fine. I mean, you can do what you want, but why not learn from other artists? Why not support the other artists as well? And I find that this discussion came up a few months ago with another discussion I was having, which is like, be present with other assets, because it's not just your project too. Go and support, because if we're all live music fans because we're the artist, we're presenter, etc., let's be sure that we're supporting those other presenters and supporting those artists that are doing it. So I think just being present too, you get to discover how other people are doing it, and learn from them. Maybe there's a mistake they do on stage, so you remember, okay, I don't do that, like, don't do that at all. Or like, I think there's so many ways in which just being present at other activities will really help the artist in general. And I think also too, don't be afraid to just approach a presenter. No one's untouchable. Do you know what I mean? And like, no one's untouchable. No one's exclusive. No one's elite. And if they feel that they are, then that's part of the old school. I'm sorry. Like, it's on the way out. I think for us, it should be about, hey, let's see how we can learn from each other in terms of a presenter or someone who's doing a professional development program or something. Maybe I didn't think of something because I'm not an artist on stage. Maybe I just didn't think of it. I thought I had everything covered. So let's learn from each other and approach each other in that sense. So I think just that encouragement to be present at as many different things as they can.
I think also like the fact, like you mentioned earlier, just with finances, right? Like it's the last things on a lot of musicians' brain. And same thing, they don't realize, I guess, the networking, the benefits of the networking and how far reaching it can be. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think, like, I can even give an example. I remember meeting this band in, I think it was in Santiago de Compostela in Spain at a conference, and, they're from Sweden. And their music was nice. It was lovely. I was like, okay, cool. But, obviously I saw other things live. And then eventually they met me again the next year. They met me again the next year. And then finally I booked them. You know what I mean? Because I remembered them. And it was one of those things that I think having patience as an artist is good as well. Just to know that sometimes just because you pitch someone something doesn't mean that they're going to be booked the next year. It could be 2 to 3 years that happens, because ultimately, as a presenter, you could be booked up for the next 2 to 3 years. In general, your lineup and roster might be completely done. But ultimately, just being available, being present, sending a nudge is always a good thing. That networking aspect is so key. So that's why these conferences are really important. And, with Global Toronto, for us, there's a charge to come, but ultimately we have we're in this together badge that's completely free to anybody that can't afford a conference. I mean, we've all been hit by COVID, and that's the reality of things. And so therefore, if you can't pay to come, that's okay. Like, just come, join us, learn. There's so many opportunities, and we're not the only ones offering this thing. Like, and ultimately, sometimes it could be daunting. You could reach out to the presenter or to the organization and say, hey, I would love to attend. Unfortunately, I can't afford it, but would you be able to at least comp me a day or comp me the whole badge or something like that? And for the most part, they will, because we understand what's going on.
Wow, that's huge. I mean, does that sort of change the tone of all these different aspects of the conference? Because I mean, we're talking a lot about, coming together more and being more, united. Is that easier after COVID, or does it change the tone in any sense?
That's a good question. I'm a naive dreamer, I guess. I'm an eternal optimist. Let's put it that way.
Makes two of us
I
here.
think so, like I think if something that we've learned is that, oh my gosh, like just being like in front of a stage, going to a live act is just so incredible. And like I've missed out for 2 years on that. And so I would think that at this point it's like, let's make it happen. Even if we have to duct tape it together, let's do it, and like
That's it.
let's get her done.
Build the plane as we fly it, like we say.
100, yes, 100%. And it's so important. And I think some people might think like, let's go back to the way, I can't wait till things go back to normal. And I hate that. I hate when people say that, because ultimately with projects such as Global Toronto, it's like, no, let's not do that. Let's move forward. And that's specifically why our theme is, because we're all talking about rebuilding and reconnecting and, like doing all this but it's really, if we say rebuild, are we saying because it was torn down during COVID, so we have to build it the same way that it was? Like, no, let's look forward. So if you notice our theme, we've actually crossed out the because we say, no, it's about connecting. It's about collaborating. It's about building, not about reconnecting, recollaborating. Yeah, exactly. So we have to have that vision forward, because ultimately we want to make sure that it's not an exclusive or elitist industry that shuts the door on people that really do deserve it, and that just perhaps haven't had the leg up or the opportunity to make their way throughout their careers and make their careers sustainable. So we want to help as much as possible. We know that we're not the experts in everything, but we can at least help by convening those voices together and connecting you to those resources.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, just for you personally, what was maybe the most impactful? Either it could be an individual artist story of like how they got there, or it could be maybe something you learned about a culture that you weren't aware of. What was the biggest eye-opening piece so far for you in this project?
Oof, that's tough. There's been a lot of moments over the 2 online conferences where we've had just incredible sound bites from people, and people can go to the website globaltoronto.org and see those panels that were that happened. And we've also obviously pre-recorded some stuff as well for this year. There's a few things. I think one that was so impactful to me was, don't forget we're all human, that there's a human behind the work. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it be the production of it, the artistry of it, the physical production of putting something on stage. I mean, there's always humans behind all of this. And we need to be as empathetic as possible right now, because ultimately I'm thinking about all the projects that are going on. We've all had, especially in Ontario, we've had a late start to this season, essentially this summer, this festival season, this conference season. People have moved their dates because they just didn't know. There was so much uncertainty up until the end of January. We were completely shut down. And so let's have empathy that, hey, we're all hitting the ground running and we're trying our best to put it together. And, we're all like, we didn't learn. We didn't take that. We took that moment to pause during the pandemic, but we then just hit the ground running again. We're all super busy. So like, let's have empathy towards each other and know that we're humans. We still have families. We still have our families to sustain. And we also are, social creatures that need our downtime, that need our socialization time. We can't just always be stuck to a Zoom call or a computer or emails, in order to get this done. So that's one thing that was really heavily discussed, that for me, it's just made me a bit more cognizant when I'm waiting and expecting a response from somebody. And another thing too, and you'll hear this, I'll give a slight preview, was during one of our climate discussions, was, people that are leading the charge in climate discussions and really protecting our planet are the Indigenous peoples of the planet, not just Canada, but all over the world. They're the ones who are the keepers that are really, truly fighting, losing their lives to do this work. And they can't be the only ones to do it. And so that's where I'll leave it, just because the woman who spoke about this said it way more eloquently than I ever can. So please tune in June 22nd for that.
I'm sure they definitely will. And where can everybody find all the info on? Is there a website or maybe social that's priority for you guys?
Absolutely. So our website is globaltoronto.org. When you register for the conference, especially for the online, you'll be redirected to our Minode app, which is a platform and an app that can be downloaded onto your phone, where you'll find all those sessions and all of the delegates. We called it Minode app because we started this with the Indigenous Music Alliance, and it means kind-hearted in Anishinaabe. And so essentially it's a platform that we've used not only with Global Toronto and not only with the International Indigenous Music Summit, but with other conferences that have needed an online platform. I think a lot of people think it's really easy to produce something online and it's super cheap. It's not.
No.
These online platforms are very expensive. So we opened it up for other people. So that's why we didn't call it the Global Toronto app or the, something Small World Music app or anything. We found a name that would be, universal for everybody, essentially.
Yeah.
And so they'll be redirected there and they can find it on social media. We're at Global Toronto on Instagram, Global Toronto Music Conference on Facebook.
Awesome. Mercedes, thank you so much for your time and can't wait to jump in online.
Yes, please do sign up.
Awesome.
June 20 to 22nd is our online.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. All right, take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Stand up, step up, get out of the way. Sit down if you got nothing to say. We gotta move, baby. Small revolutions, baby. Stand up, slogan, get out of the way.
We want to give a huge shout out to Mercedes, the head of programs at the Global Toronto Music Conference 2022, for joining us on the show. That was so much information. I mean, that was really more than I could have asked for in terms of info, and really a great conference, just a great resource for all up-and-coming artists.
Yeah. I mean, I think she deserves that, whatever salary they're giving her, man. Like, what a spokesperson, right? Like, it was just like, wow, let's just, so much information, so much, like, and what's cool about the conference is that, like, there's just, it's good tips and tricks, community networking, and like involves so many different perspectives, right? Like to the industry, right? Like, and even just like simply getting a visa to get into another country, that's a full-time job. Like, you got to hire lawyers and stuff to take care of that stuff. And it doesn't always work out. So definitely an eye-opening experience from all the stuff she told us about.
As she told us, it doesn't always work out. And even this year, they're still sort of putting things together for certain artists to come in. But again, I appreciate that flexibility that they're willing to work with people. And look, if you can't come in person, do it online. If you can't do it online, we'll get you next time. Like, they're there for the artists. And that's, ultimately what we're all about. So I definitely appreciate that. And speaking of their artists, we're joined with an awesome guest.
Yeah.
Actually so awesome that we're going to be putting this whole interview as its own episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to catch up with John Orpheus. He's a super talented singer, songwriter, artist. And we're going to give you a couple minutes of his thoughts on Global Toronto Conference.
Mama, I'ma miss you. And your oceans of smiles, Mama, I'ma miss you.
I mean, Global Toronto it's huge for a lot of reasons. I feel like, as a Trinidadian kid in Canada, trying to play music, but be true to yourself, you got a choice, right? It's between obscurity or because, there's just a kind of stigmatization of anything that's not like one of the mainstream genres of music. So if you're playing rock and roll, we got you. If you're playing like Drake style hip hop, we got a place for you. But if you're doing most other things, it's kind of like it doesn't fit. And Global Toronto is about, bringing, which is weird because Toronto is so multicultural and there's so much happening. Like you can be like some of the venues that are in the Global Toronto Conference, like Lula Lounge, which is the home for like Latin music in the city, or Drum, which is like, Mediterranean kind of Middle Eastern music. Like there's so much of that vibe all over the city. And so Global Toronto is really dope for that because what it's bringing is the best of sort of, it has a world view towards the music. So it's not just looking at Canada and going, okay, what's going to play in Regina? I love Regina, but only certain things are going to
Yeah.
play. It's country and rock and roll and hip hop, right? And
Yeah,
so it's about going, well, what does Canada have to offer the world, and what does the world have to offer Canada in terms of music that's different? And for me, that's really personal because I'm a creator, and I don't create because I want to fit in somewhere. I create because I want to express something really essential to me. And so for me, because of where I grew up, that's going to come out sounding very Caribbean, very hip hop, very dance hall, very Afrobeat, and that's just how I want to be. And I spent a lot of years playing classic rock, punk rock, like doing a lot of other things because I felt like I couldn't be myself. And so Global Toronto, I think, is really important because like the Canadian artists that are in this, like Zaki Ibrahim, Digging Roots, like, I mean, you're talking like giants, like incredible music. And then music from all over the world is coming. The artists they're spotlighting and they're bringing to Canada. Like, there's only 3 Canadian artists in this. And Zainab Wilson, who was born in Montreal but lives in Australia. So she's Canadian, but she's coming as an Australian artist. And then the rest of it is like, it's the world coming to Toronto. Why is that important? Because I think Canada, I love all the music, but I think not all the music gets a place in the spotlight. And that's why it's important. It's fun, it's deep, it's rich. All the things you love about Toronto, like where you can eat whatever food you want, authentic, any time of day you want, Mongolian, like Swedish, whatever you want to eat.
Best Caribbean.
Right? The best Caribbean. And just like the food is culture, the music is culture. And so Global Toronto spotlights that and brings it to the world and really sets up Toronto as a leader in bringing this music that's out the mainstream to the world and celebrating it. And all these people are coming from all over the world, all the delegates from, Latin America, Asia, like from the US, all over the US, and just to celebrate music that goes beyond the regular. And that's what it's all about. The other story there is that we're coming out of COVID, so we haven't been able to do festivals or like conferences like this, and even shows we haven't been able to do. So this is my 3rd show since COVID began. Wow. So that's like 3 shows in like 2.5 years, which for me, I think I was like, 13 the last time that I played that. Wow. So it's a big deal. And I've leveled up in terms of my band, in terms of the people I'm rocking with. Like, we just kind of changed the script, bringing a new, like, really purposeful manifestation of the band, and the songs have really come to life. So that's what's up. That's what we doing. Like if you want to hear the music of the world, Global Toronto, it's coming. The world's coming to you.
Yeah, I awoke the day grandmama had her stroke, and I cried until the tears stopped my throat. You see, she was the gardener and I was the soil. She said, boy, you got a long...
Huge shout out to John Orpheus for joining us on the show. We cannot wait to present you guys with that full interview on an upcoming episode of our podcast. He was a pleasure to chat with, Joe.
Man, it's like as soon as we got the interview started, we're talking about Global, Music Toronto, and next thing you know, like almost an hour later, we've went through philosophy, which is like right up my alley. I love that stuff, So mid-interview, we just decided let's just keep going. We're gonna make a full episode on this guy, because like even his music is just really good, like it's just I see it more as a pop artist almost than let's say like a rapper, but he does rap and sing, but like it's different. It's different.
100%. It's always this unique style, which is, what we always like for guests on this show. And we appreciate you guys checking us out on episode number 78 of Innersleeve. We've had so much fun on the show, so many different stories, so many different guests. and we're really just getting started. So this is the tip of the iceberg. We have so much coming for you guys. Make sure you're subscribed to all of our platforms for our video viewers on YouTube. If you listen on audio, make sure to check us out on the video version, and vice versa. You can find us anywhere you can find your favorite podcasts, and we're live every single week. Make sure to hit us up on social media as well, at SoundMojo. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. On This Day in Music premiering every single weekday. Comms tabs, polls, community posts. I mean, sky's the limit, Joe. Not to mention our merchandise as well.
Yeah, we've got hoodies, hats, everything you need to, for cold weather, hot weather. We've got pillows, we've got phone cases. I mean, definitely check out the links below for any merch that, you may need.
100%. Thanks so much for tuning in to this brand new episode of Innersleeve. We'll catch you guys next week.